Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching Congo 82 TV. Welcome to all the new subscribers. Ladies and gentlemen, in today's segment, I wanted to discuss with you the reason why the current president of Congo, Felix Antoine Tshisekedi Tshilombo, and the former president, Mr. Kabila, have had to negotiate, they've had to consult each other, they've had to kind of work together here and there in different situations, because I've heard a lot of confusion from people. A lot of people are wondering, why do they have to consult each other? Why does Mr. Kabila still have a say? Why does he still have some powers on the current government? So the first thing we're going to do is read the constitution that talks about how the government is supposed to be formed, and then we're going to talk about the election, and then I'm going to try to explain how and why the former president and the current president have had to negotiate and work together in different situations, and kind of make it clear. So let's read the constitution first, and then we're gonna talk about the elections, and then that will help us understand why they've had to consult each other. So this is the 78th article of the Congolese Constitution. It stipulates, the President of the Republic appoints the Prime Minister after consulting the person. He terminates his functions upon his presentation of the resignation of the government. If such a majority does not exist, the President of the Republic entrusts a fact-finding mission to a personality with a view to identify a coalition. The fact-finding mission is 30 days, renewable once. The President of the Republic appoints the other members of the government and terminates their functions on the proposal of the Prime Minister. Now let's go to the elections, and we'll come back to the Constitution and kind of then we'll work together with these two things, and that will help us understand why. So when they have general elections in Congo, like they did in 2018, they elect a new president and new legislators. So that's what they call general election or tripartite elections. That's when there's a presidential election, a legislative, national legislative, and provincial legislative elections. And after the result, we have a new president and new legislators. Here, when they mention in the constitution that the president nominates or appoints a prime minister from the parliamentary majority, they are talking about the National Assembly. They are talking about a political party or a political grouping. That's when a number of political parties come together and create a group of political parties. That's what they call a political grouping. If a political party or a political grouping have a parliamentary majority, they can form the government because they have the majority in the parliament. So it doesn't mean if you're the president, you automatically have to form the government since you're the president. No, it doesn't work that way. That's why they say here, in the constitution, it says the President of the Republic appoints the Prime Minister from among the parliamentary majority. Now, so in the 2018 elections that gave us the results where Tshisekedi was the president, and Felix Tshisekedi has a political with their political party creates a political grouping that they called CASH. Joseph Kabila with their political grouping, they called it FCC. Those two political groupings basically won the election. The Felix Tshisekedi's political grouping and political party won the presidential election, and very few legislators, very few provincial and national legislators or members of parliament. And then Kabila's political grouping have the majority in the National Assembly and in most of the provincial assemblies. So, due to the fact that Mr. Kabila's political party or political grouping have the parliamentary majority or has the majority of members of parliament in the National Assembly. We have 500 and they have about 300 something members of parliament. That's from the Mr. Kabila's political grouping. The prime minister has to come from their political party. And since the prime minister has to come from their political party, they can also form the government since they have the majority. That's what the government is telling us here. The president appoints them, but their political grouping bring the names that the president has to appoint to the president. Then the president just takes the act. The president just acts on those names. Now, there's two ways this can go. Those people can either create the government and start working with their vision, but now it's going to be very hard because we know that this new president has a different vision, and those Kabila with his people has a very different vision of ruling the country. Now, or maybe they probably don't even have a vision, or let's just say they have a very different vision of ruling the country. Now, another way this can go is they can decide of working together. That's the president, since he has won the presidency, and Kabila's people, they can agree on working together. That means they both together form the government and work together with the president's vision. Since he's the president, the government has to work with his vision. Now, that's what the president chose. He chose to work with them instead of letting them form the government on their own. Because for the people that have been following the things that have been happening in Congo, sometimes things haven't been working so good. Sometimes the things that the president is trying to do and Kabila's people, they're not being very supportive to the president's vision and president actions. And other things have just not been working out so well. Even though they kind of working together, is not working out. If the president had let them form the government on their own, it would have been even harder. Now, so they chose to work together. The president chose to work together with the Kabila's people, since he thought that's the best option for him. That means they had to negotiate with Kabila, with Mr. Kabila, the president, and Mr. Kabila, since the president was the head of their political grouping, and Mr. Kabila is the head of their political grouping, or the group of those political parties, those two people have to meet and negotiate. Now they negotiate. We have 65 ministers. How much do I take? How much do you take? How much ministers will you keep? How much ministers will I keep? So they negotiate, and then they negotiate which ministry goes to who. After negotiating on how many or ministries goes to which political grouping, they then negotiate which ministry goes to which political grouping. After they do that, then they start proposing the names to the president. So Mr. Kabila's political grouping find names of the people they want to put in the government. Which person goes to the Ministry of Health, which president goes to this ministry and all that stuff. And then the president's political grouping also bring their names to the president. Now, they bring those names to the president, but the president is the one to decide if that person is worth it. If the president thinks that person is worth it, then the president can appoint, because the president has the right to say, no, I don't want this person has been stealing money, this person hasn't done this in the past, I don't want to work with this person. So, with all that stuff, the president have had to go negotiate with Kabila, since Mr. Kabila is also the head of his political grouping. That's why that's one reason why they've had to negotiate. They've had to consult each other and discuss those issues. So I think for the formation of the government, they met 2 or 3 times to negotiate, to discuss the issue before the government was finally appointed, because before the ministers and prime minister were finally appointed. Now, the president has once said in one of his interviews that he consults the former president for some advices, Now, people have to know here that that's also good for democracy, you know. And what people have to know is that Joseph Kabila is the only living president we have in Congo that has ever served. So there's some things which, of course, the current president have to talk to him, have to consult him to know, because he's the only president that has ruled that country for 18 years. Do you know how much secrets, how much information he has about the country? So the president here, I don't think is a very bad option. Well, he might not tell him how to rule the country, but there's some things, you know, which the president can consult the former presidency and get some information from. But a lot of people see it bad when they see that the former president, a lot of people that estimate that the former president didn't rule the country good. Those people don't like it, don't want to see the current president kind of working together with the former president. And a lot of people were not understanding why the former president still have some powers in the government. Yes, he has some powers in the government because his political party, his political grouping, that means his political party and other political parties together have the parliamentary majority, has the majority of members of parliament in the National Assembly. That means they have to form the government. It's either they form the government on their own, or they negotiate and work together with the president and form together a government. That's why Mr. Tshisekedi and Mr. Kabila have had to consult each other, because they're working together. Their government is a joint government. It's not a government that's formed by one political party. Only if the president's political party, or if the president Felix Tshisekedi's political party or political grouping won the election, the presidential election, and won the majority of won the majority of members of parliament, then Mr. Tshisekedi would have formed the government of only his people, only the people he wants in the government. But since his political grouping, since his political party won the presidential election but did not win the majority of members of parliament, he's not the constitution, as I read here, you heard, doesn't give him the right to choose. He can appoint, but he doesn't give him the right to choose which people to be in the government. Now, after they propose the names to him, he can say, no, bring me another name, but he doesn't choose and say, give me this type of person to be the prime minister, or give me this person to be the minister. No. Whenever Mr. Kabila brings to him that I want this person to be in this ministry, after they've done the negotiations that I'm going to take this ministry and you're going to take this ministry, when the other side, that's Mr. Kabila's side, brings him the names of the people they want to be in the government, Mr. Tshisekedi can choose which people he accepts and which people he doesn't accept. He can give them reasons, but he cannot propose the names that Mr. Kabila have to bring. Mr. Kabila will just bring the name. If he says no, they will have to bring new names. If then he feels satisfied with the names they've brought to him, then he can go ahead and appoint the ministers after having appointed the prime minister to form the government. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the reason why you've seen Mr. Kabila and Mr. Tshisekedi working together here and there. The president is only one person. Mr. Felix Antoine Tshisekedi Tshilombo is the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo, and he doesn't lead the country with somebody else. No, he takes the decisions as the president, as the law or the constitution gives him the right to. They've had to do all these negotiations. That was because they had to form the government. But after forming the government, all these things that come after, he doesn't have to negotiate or to consult anybody to take those decisions, because he just has to follow what the constitution allows him to do. That's what he has to do. Now, a lot of people didn't understand why, and they were like, this man's term is over. Why does he still have a say in the government? Why does he still have some powers in this current government? So that is why things are the way they are. So ladies and gentlemen, that's all I had for now. We're gonna come back. Ladies and gentlemen, may God be with us, may God protect us, and we are still together.